I'm from Atlanta, and I saw Mastodon in the very early days. Tiny rooms, small crowds, but nothing about that band felt small. They owned the room, and it was obvious that they were headed somewhere bigger. For me, Crack the Sky was the moment where they stepped into their full potential. The writing got a lot more ambitious, the layers got deeper, and their risks finally started to pay off. A huge part of that was working with the legend Brendan O'Brien, who had already shaped records like Korn's Issues, Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Aerosmith's Get a Grip, and like 1,000 more. And you can hear that jump immediately. In case you don't know me, I'm Eyal Levi, CEO of URM Academy. I've been a guitarist in my band Doth since 1999, and I've spent my life obsessed with how heavy records are actually made. Today I'm going to react to the Crack the Sky making of documentary so that we can see what was actually going down in the room when this record came together. Most of this documentary digs deep into the backstory, and it gets really heavy, and it's absolutely worth a watch. But what I want to focus on today is the production side of it, because this was a real turning point for the band. This was the first time that they had a real budget, real time and space to fully realize what they were capable of. And I think that that phase of a band's career is always fascinating to watch. Let's get into it.
So this would be our fifth full length. And we've gone through a transitional growing phase ever since the Call of the Mastodon. You know, each album has just sounded different.
I feel like we're just really refining our sound. We're probably in the midst of becoming a whole different band.
It's amazing how this band has just continuously been something else other than what it has been previously.
What I noticed with them was when they came out, they were much heavier, kind of weird, kind of southern tinged, but much more simple band, even though they had crazy drumming. But with this album, it's almost like they went prog, or like you said, like this classic rock thing. And I understand why they felt the need to be protective over it, because it is a special thing. And also, you have to feel really, really strongly about doing that if you're going to be changing your style in this scene of music, because as we know, there are plenty of bands who take a left turn and people fucking hate it. So I feel like if you're going to do that, especially when your career is still establishing itself, you better feel really, really strongly about your new direction.
And on this album, I was like, I'm going to do my biggest attempt to make a classic rock album, something that will be timeless and go down in history for Mastodon, great band, but that one album, Crack the Sky, fucking love that album.
I'd say it's their best album. Brent Hines, R.I.P.
And we wanted something that would kind of stand the test of time and not be shelved after one or two listens.
The way we are now, the band we are now, is the band I always wanted us to be from the beginning, but we couldn't be the band we are now from the beginning because we had to go through all those transitional phases and growths.
That's an interesting thought, that he felt like the band at that point in time was the band he always wanted them to be, because as many of you who are in bands or who have been in bands have felt, it can be very, very frustrating when you have a vision in your head and for whatever reason the music your band is creating is just not there. And it could be that you have bad band members. It could be that you are not there yet with your playing or your writing sophistication, or maybe as a group you guys haven't gelled together yet enough to have that hive mind thing happening like these great bands end up with. But to actually get to the point where it's like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do the whole time, it's a big deal, and it's very rare.
And now, it's just different. It's awesome and I love it, but it's different from Remission. It's different from Leviathan. There's still some of those characteristics, but it's like looking at an evolution chart.
Yeah, so I think that the reason that this record went over well with fans is because they kept enough of their old sound while still adding new. I think a lot of the times when bands take those left turns that cause fans to ditch them, it's because they lost too much of the thing that got them known and loved in the first place. With Mastodon, all that craziness was still in there. They just added this really, really epic classic rock element to it.
Brent really dug deeper than he ever had before and dug himself out of a really dark place and created some of the most beautiful music he's ever created ever since I've known him.
I'm going to be honest about something. When people say dig deeper with writing, sometimes I don't exactly know what that means. Like, I know what it's supposed to mean, like try harder or go to a deeper place, but I don't actually know what it means because I'm guessing that they never phoned it in the first place. I don't think they phoned in their earlier stuff. And usually when people talk about digging deeper and they're already accomplished, are they saying that they weren't digging deep before? So I have a hard time like really understanding what it means in practice. I know what it means, I guess, philosophically.
I don't know what the hell we're gonna do to top this record because this is the one. It's amazing. It really is. I think we finally got it right this time. Even though we've already had 5 great albums, I'm still looking for our swan song, you know what I mean?
That's a good thing. You should always feel like you don't know how you're going to top what you're working on. Otherwise, if you know how you're going to top it, or you feel like you did better work before, that's not a great sign. You should be aiming to make something that's so good that you get anxiety about how you're going to follow it up. What's life without a gong, you know? That is such a killer riff.
When I get home, it only takes like 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden, riffs just start flying through there, you know, and I start getting inspired again, you know.
That's actually pretty impressive that it only takes them 3 or 4 days to decompress and then get back to work, because a lot of people, when they get off tour, have basically post-tour depression where it takes them a few weeks to feel normal again. I think because they've been so used to getting adrenaline dumps in just being like at level 10 for about a month or 2 months straight that they need to kind of reacclimate into society. But there's this rare group of people who their creativity just doesn't stop. It's impressive.
Glorious Thunderbox here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we spent the past 8 months or so.
I think we practiced there once.
Monday through Friday, like noon to 5, give or take a couple hours, and start hashing out the ideas for the new record. It's kind of our day job for the past year.
I appreciate that they're treating it like a day job. I mean, they should, and it is their day job at this point in time, or was their day job at this point in time. But I think there's something to be said for having set working hours and a set working schedule, even though people like to think that, you know, inspiration hits at all times and you got to go with that. Yeah, sure, that's true. But most of the work happens by just sitting your ass down and getting to work. And then if you're already in the flow and on a schedule, you know, like you said, Monday through Friday, noon to 5, that's just what we do. That doesn't mean that Saturday night at 3 a.m., one of them is not going to get a great idea. But they're going to have all that flow already and all that momentum from writing to actually help do something good with that crazy idea that happens when inspiration hits.
We're just writing and 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 go down there every single day and just kind of hang out and play drums and see what comes up, you know.
Most days of the week we'd get down there like 11:30 or noon and just start going over everything over and over and over and over and over to a point where you don't even know if it sounds good anymore.
That's the only problem with working on something too much before you record it, is you start to lose perspective. And especially in this case, it doesn't seem like they're making demos. It seems to me like they're writing something and then remembering it, and that's why they're playing it over and over again to keep on developing it together. So, you know, they come up with something, they got to remember it from one day to the next. That's the old school way of doing things. By the time you've done it 100 or 200 times and the recording session still is like 6 months into the future, you can actually really lose perspective on if what you're doing is good or not. And I'm sure that nowadays, if one of you is like mixing something or writing a song, I'm sure you've been to the point where you've worked really, really hard on a mix, spent lots of hours on it, and at one point you were stoked, but by the end you think it sounds like shit. You have no idea which way is up.
These are just ideas that we've been, just write down some ideas so until we have song titles. We can keep up with what's what riff is whose, and what goes where.
We had all these songs. We had like 13 or 14 songs. We're just like, okay, well,
Making sure we're happy with everything that goes on this record, you know?
we've never had too many songs for a record. We've always just had enough, and then we're like, okay. And they always all make it on there.
I don't know if this is Mastodon's major label debut, but I do know that they were working with Brendan O'Brien on this, who made some really, really huge records. I think that this was their first time on a major label budget. Could be wrong. But that's much more common with bands that have a higher budget to write more than you need for the record. If you're going to have 8 songs, write 13. If you're going to have 10 songs, write 20. Sometimes you hear about bands like Linkin Park writing 50 songs for a record. Like, I don't know if that means 50 start to finish or like 50 ideas, because it's a hell of a lot of songs. But the point is that when you're writing, if you look at the bell curve, you're going to have 10% of it that's fucking garbage. You're going to have about 80% that's different levels of okay to good. And then you're going to have 10% that's fucking great. And the aim is to find that 10% that's fucking great and have that go on the record. And you only get to that 10% by writing a lot.
We're so prepared to do this album that it's ridiculous.
We just kept taking every song and rearranging it and then adding things. And
Getting this shit right before we go waste anyone's time, especially ours. You know what I mean? Because no one's paying for it except this guy's right here.
That's one thing that I feel like old bands did really, really well. I'm obviously a huge proponent of the new way of doing things. I really, really do appreciate it. But I was producing when the home recording revolution started, and I'm very, very familiar with bands coming into the studio not having ever played their songs or not knowing how to do anything. And so I really, really appreciate that, in his words, they were not going to waste anybody's time. Time is money. They're going to be super fucking ready when they go into the studio. And I mean, that's a producer's dream. When you're working with a band who is ready and they have a vision, that's the dream scenario.
There's no guessing anything. There's only exact knowledge of what is going on and when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it.
you know, once you put it down on tape and you can put headphones on or put it on the CD player and listen to it over and over, you kind of know what needs to go and what can stay, or if there's something you need to play a little more, you know, self-producing your stuff.
It seems like at some point later into the writing process, they did start making their own demos.
We're having right now to work with Brendan and all of his toys in that fucking nice studio is the best opportunity that we've ever came across. And so we just wanted to be absolutely prepared and not waste anyone's time.
The deeper that you can go emotionally when you're writing and playing music, the better, because that's what it needs to be. You know, it doesn't need to be superficial.
I remember reading, I think it was the Beatles anthology book, or maybe it was Paul McCartney's autobiography, where he said that John Lennon was talking about singing with feeling behind it, and I think one of them felt a little weird about it, and I seem to remember, I'm paraphrasing, but John told him that every single fucking time that you play and sing something, you need to put feeling into it, and fuck it. Like, fuck being embarrassed, fuck being shy, just do it with feeling, or you're not really doing it at all.
I knew that Brent had been digging a lot deeper than on some of the other material that we had written together in the past. Just the impact that the accident in Vegas had on him.
The accident he had in Vegas, you can look that up, but I believe he was put into a coma for a little while.
Realizing that, when it came time to write lyrics, I felt like the lyrics that I was writing, I just had to dig a lot deeper this time and kind of tap into some things that had happened to me when I was younger.
Okay, so that's what they mean by digging deeper, tapping into personal trauma and actually making the songs about that.
When I was 15, my sister died. She was 14, and that was totally devastating to me.
It's dedicated to her and named after her. Her name was Sky. And so we called it Crack the Sky.
That explains it.
The album is pretty personal to Braun because metaphorically and lyrically is about his sister that committed when she was like 11 or 12 or something really young, you know?
Wow, that's terrible. Those octaves in that tuning on that riff sound so fucking good. Pro tip, if you want to make riffs sound a lot heavier and not just use standard power chords, play some low octaves. They just sound fucking epic. Check out this fucking fill. It's not the craziest fill. It's not that fast, but normally you see drummers doing this stuff two-handed. Look at how solid it is one-handed. And I know you drummers out there, you're not going to say it's a big deal, but to me, as someone who records drummers or has recorded lots of drummers, it is a big deal because of how powerful it is and how consistent it is and how much other stuff he's doing at the same time. That's one of my favorite things about this record is Brent Hines's hybrid picking. Sounds like banjo playing. And nowadays, hybrid picking in metal is, I don't want to say totally normal, but it's a much more common technique. Whereas back in these days, it was almost unheard of. I think you had like Steve Morse who did it, Zakk Wylde who did it, but overall it was not part of the technical language along with like sweep picking and down picking and all that stuff, tapping, all the stuff that metal players do. But hybrid picking has now become part of the vocabulary, but not back then.
Because it sounds very surfy.
So it's like, here's the rock and roll song, and then it makes a nice left turn, you know, on a surfboard.
I don't know if you've ever heard black metal surf music renditions, but I've always said that black metal and some types of metal are just surf. They're just surf music with distortion. It really works. So I think it's actually a very natural idea to actually try to incorporate some sort of a surf sound on a metal record.
Here's how I'll write guitar solos. I don't. I just put my brain on autopilot and pick up the guitar and say, play the song. And just whatever, pretty much whatever I play, like first thing I play is pretty much just how the solo goes.
I can't do that. I think that that's actually its own skill, being able to improvise, and that's not necessarily a big part of the metal vocabulary. I always have looked up to players who can just spit out a solo, and it works. That is a super cool riff underneath those leads.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
That sounded great.
I always try to harmonize, not everything, but anything that's single notes or whatever. I feel like, oh, I'm going to harmonize the crap out of that. Or I kind of, laid back a little bit as well. I didn't want to go over the top too much.
I mean, why not? Harmonies sound really cool, but it's good to know when not to use them too, and to just let the riff be unison. There's something for all you guitar players to try if you've never fucked around with droning strings. Just try it. Write a part where one of your strings is droning, like maybe, if you're in standard tuning, your B is droning while you're playing a melody or a melodic fragment on your E string or, something like that. You can come up with some very interesting, unique sounding parts. Is that an electric 12 string? Well, it looks like the high strings are doubled and then the low strings are single string. Interesting. I've never seen one of those before. That's really cool. So maybe he wasn't droning. Maybe it was just this dual string thing, but this is cool.
the arsenal of stuff that we had to work with was just immense. It was just like, okay, yeah, this is great. I already have a good feeling about this, you know.
It's probably the only time you'll see me with one of these in my hand.
It's a sweet telly, dude.
So I appreciate that they're going for it with all the different guitars and instruments that they have available to them. I know that on a lot of records, people pick one guitar for rhythms and one guitar for lead. And hey, if all you have is one guitar or two guitars, then, you know, make the best of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have the possibility to use more, whether that means borrowing from friends or you go to a studio that has a bunch of different types of guitars, you should always try to experiment with having different types of parts being played with different guitars. First of all, you might discover a sound that's really, really great and unique, that's different than something you would have come up with your own instrument. And second of all, it's going to make it a lot easier to mix because the sounds are going to be competing with each other a lot less. It's way easier to mix guitar parts, like multiple guitar parts, where, like, you know, the rhythms are done with one, the leads are done with another, the cleans are done with another, and so on.
I've been using this JCM 800 Lead Series reissue, 100 watts of pure fucking metal. But running with the pedal, it sounds great in conjunction with this baby right here. The Marshall JCM 800 Lead Series, which is one of my first amps. This thing's really old. It's like, I don't know, 85 maybe.
You want to play through this totally rare, vintage, crazy piece of gear, they probably have it.
For a part in Quintessence, I was using this Leslie speaker in here. It's like a rotating speaker.
As many of you may know, I'm not like really a gear person. I've sold off most of my gear, and I've never been like one of those people who has like an encyclopedia of gear in my head and geeks out over it. However, I have always liked being in a studio situation where there is a lot of different gear that you can use and to actually find cool ways to use it. So I really do appreciate that they're doing this.
I think it's from like 1800s.
Oh, you want to do a harp? You want to play harpsichord on that part? Yeah, I got a harpsichord back over at the. You know what I mean? Like this, like what?
It's not metal without a harpsichord.
Let's do the lute solo.
And that just makes me really, really, really giddy, like a little schoolgirl, like just hee, because I love all that crazy old gear, you know? It's a purple Plexi JMP. This one's a JMP. No, this is the Plexi right here. This is the purple JMP. God. Like today I played a 1964 Stratocaster through a 1968 purple JMP 100 watt head. The gear is definitely why I get out of bed in the morning. I mean, all this stuff is just, it's really rare, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's not reissued stuff, it's from the year, you know?
I want to say something. I'm not at all negating what he's saying because that gear that they're using is one of a kind and amazing stuff. But this is just for some people out there who are obsessed with older gear. Don't be fooled. Just because something is old doesn't mean it's good. It's only good if it's actually good. So if you're in the market for vintage gear, test it first and make sure that it's actually what you think it is, because, hey, a lot of older gear, maybe it was good, but it was not maintained properly, and now it sounds like shit, or it just wasn't that good. There's a legend about it, but the legend is wrong. And then there's other pieces of gear, like the stuff they have here, that are just, you know, amazing. So be smart. Don't just get stuff because there's hype or because it's old.
Well, today is Wednesday, June 25th. It's a pretty mellow day. I just knocked out some various bass sounds for a song called Crack the Sky.
Dude, Troy's on the cover of Bass Player magazine twice. I mean, you don't get on the cover of a guitar magazine, you know, being a shitty guitar.
I was trying to dial in like a real gnarly, dirty, Neurosis-ish bass tone for this song, because it's probably the heaviest song on the record. And I think we achieved that.
Interesting detail here, which I think is cool. He said for this song, which means that they're probably dialing each song at least a little bit differently, which is also one of those things that you can really do when you have more time and budget. I mean, you can do it on your own too. I just appreciate that they're treating each song like its own thing and giving it its appropriate sound, as opposed to kind of doing the Metal Factory way of recording where it's the same sound start to finish. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's a lot of records done that way where it makes perfect sense, but their stated goals were to make like a classic rock record and to really, really push the boundaries of what they could do. So it makes sense that every song would kind of be built from the ground up.
That's my Mesa Boogie 810 cabinet. I think it sounds good.
I used to have one of those. Yeah, those are powerful as fuck.
Sound comes from.
Well, bass players in metal often have a bad reputation, and deservedly so in many cases. But the best bands tend to have really great bass players, and it makes such a huge difference. When you have a really good bass player playing, it just brings everything to life. Whereas when you don't, you either have to do it for them when they go home for the night, or you just got to like pull miracles to have the low end come together, or you have the guitar player do it. But when a band has their own bassist who just like is solid as fuck and sounds great, it makes all the difference in the world. Just notice how solid he is playing that part.
Troy's always been a very good player. Ever since the day I met him, he was very fluent on the bass, and I really enjoy that about him, and how much he pays attention and how much he really puts a lot of thought into his playing, and he's smart about it, you know what I
mean? Notice in the other song he was using his fingers, and looks like now he's using a pick. I like that because so many times people act like it's one or the other, and they're very much in that camp, kind of like passive or active pickups. I'm going to be religious about what kind of pickups I use, which I think is fucking stupid. And same with this, like he's using a pick where it makes sense and it sounds better, uses his fingers where it makes sense and sounds better, and overall everything benefits as a result.
This right here is my new toy. 1979 Moog Taurus synthesizer. It is totally badass. Geddy Lee uses one.
I've never seen one of those. That looks really cool. So that's what makes it sound that way. I always wondered what that sound was on this record. That sounds awesome.
Currently we are throwing some smoothness, some smooth bass on the Czar. It's going to be a lengthy process. It's only a 10-minute song.
And there's a whole other technique that you don't see very often. He's sitting there playing power chords and strumming them like a guitar player. It sounds fucking great.
Talk some shop. Go through all this gear that I'm using to record this record with.
Okay, let's do it.
This is my Godlike Deity bass. Use this for all my all the songs that are tuned up to D. It's got this bright pop to it, but it's got this, whatever this wood is, it's got this real warm, sustaining sound. So I pretty much use it on all the songs tuned up to D. Recorded the entire Blood Mountain record with this one as well, so it's kind of like my go-to bass. This is the best bass that I have that can handle all that really low end in a gnarly sound, you know. So I use this Yamaha for all the songs that are tuned to A. Crack the Sky is tuned to A, and I'm not sure what other songs in A are going to make the record, but so far Crack the Sky has got the Yamaha written all over it. This old P bass here belongs to the studio, and I just wanted to come and hang out with these other cool guys, just to hang out and get out of the closet for a while. So it's strictly here for aesthetics only. I don't even play it. Overseeing all of the parts, this is Yort. He's the ceramic god of bass. And I turn to him for guidance, basically, you know.
So one thing I've noticed that's cool is I don't know if these dudes endorse any guitar companies or bass companies. I don't know if they have exclusive deals or not, but clearly, even if they are with a company, the deal doesn't extend to the studio because they're using whatever instruments they want. One of the most annoying things as a producer is recording someone who has to use something that might not sound as good as another option because of a deal. Like, say that they have a deal with a really shitty cymbal company, and there's a set of the identical sizes of something really, really good at the studio that they can use. I would rather record with the one that's really, really good and then replace that all and take some pictures or shoot a video with the endorsement symbol so that, you know, he can keep his endorsement and everybody's happy, but the record doesn't suffer.
Brent got beat up really bad. It took him a while to recover.
Yeah, he got hospitalized. It was pretty bad.
He got knocked unconscious and was in a coma and all that shit, and I fucking had severe fucking brain trauma, you know what I mean? So it took me a really long time to stop having vertigo from that. Like for about 8 months I had vertigo, like straight up vertigo. I was dizzy. I couldn't go from parallel to horizontal without having the biggest fucking head rush and spin and euphoria and all this craziness. That shit went on for like 8 months.
And I think for someone like Brent, for that to happen, it's almost impossible for him to escape without having songs about it. You know, there are songs that come out of it.
That was a smooth line. I want to see that again.
For some reason, I just cranked out a bunch of music and I just picked up the guitar and it just came out of me, you know what I mean? Which was really refreshing because I didn't know if I was ever even gonna be able to play guitar after getting hit that hard or something, you know?
It is actually really impressive that he got his head rocked like that and within a relatively short period of time was doing the best work of his life. I mean, it doesn't always turn out that way when you get a traumatic brain injury. Oftentimes it just doesn't get better. What we just saw there is the opposite of riff salad. Nothing is in there just because it sounds cool. On Crack the Sky, every layer has a job. Every synth, transition, and arrangement choice serves the bigger idea of the song. That's the real lesson here, intentionality. The band pushed past the first good idea and kept refining until everything earned its place. Zero filler. Take one thing you saw today, the way they layered parts, built contrast, or let arrangements breathe. Try to apply that directly to your next session. All right. We're done with this one. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time.